Before you begin this section, just take a second to fill in your journal about how your child lets you know what they like and what they dislike. An example of this may be that your child likes trains, and you know this because when you take those trains away, they scream and they cry.
Hi, I'm a newly qualified speech and language therapist. I just wanted to ask you a few questions about what advice I can give to parents. Parents often ask me about how they can keep a routine interesting for their child. What would you say?
It's a good question. And I think, especially when we're talking about children with autism spectrum disorder, that routine, you really need to find one that's going to keep the child interested. This is one of the major issues we have, is to have a routine that the child will keep coming back to. Because to be a routine, it needs to be repeatable. So we have interesting and repeatable. It also needs to follow certain rules. It has to have a beginning and a middle and an end, because otherwise, if a child is enjoying it, they will want to keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it, which is good, but actually you can't spend 24/7 doing the same thing. So, your child will need to be aware that actually when it's finished, there's a gesture, there's a sign, there's a word that signals that. The routine will also need to involve you as the parent or you as the therapist. So it's, there's two of you involved in this. So it develops turn taking, waiting, and all the elements of interaction, really. So to be a routine, you need 5 components. The routine needs to be interesting, repeatable, to follow certain rules, allow the child to have a turn, and to involve people. I think crucially, you really, as a parent, need to think, what holds my child's attention? What perhaps toys or items can I have in my routine bag that's going to keep my child coming back? Because once you have a toy that interests them, you can then use it to keep that child repeating perhaps the same words, hearing the same sounds, the same gestures. And the more that a child is exposed to that, they're going to really consolidate and understand what it is you're asking them to do.
What everyday activities would you suggest parents use when thinking about routines with their child?
That's actually a very good question, and you've probably already answered it by saying everyday routines, because that is the most important thing. When you're giving a parent something to do, you need to understand that actually, for that parent, it needs to be simple. It needs to be something that's not going to cause them a lot of effort or that they're going to be thinking and worrying about. And really, routine needs to be something that happens several times in a day or at least several times a week in order for it to become repeatable and for the child to recognize it. So thinking about our everyday routines, we all have them. We all get up in the morning and probably get dressed or go to the bathroom and do the same things. And it kind of sets us up for the day. And similarly for children. So my advice would be, to the parent, think about what is it? Talk me through your day. What is it that you do consistently? And when we have preschool children, they're always going to need to have some sleep. They're going to have meal times. They're going to have toileting times. You're going to have times when you're washing them. So those kind of, if you like, parts of the day are almost set up already to work routines around it. So thinking about, getting undressed, getting ready for bed, the songs you can sing, the games you can play. Other routines may be something about teaching them to say hello or goodbye, waving. There's lots of opportunities during the day with going in and out of shops, meeting up with friends, seeing people in the park, where you can encourage your child to wave, to use that word. Just really thinking about anything that's going to have lots of opportunities for it to be repeated.
When parents are playing with their children, what should they remember?
Again, it seems a simple question to answer, but none of us know what the inside of someone else's house looked like. Some people may have lots of room and space with a big garden. So when you're thinking about routines and play, you can talk about using footballs and catch. Other people may be limited to a small corner of a bedsit. And so we really need to take that into account when working with our parents and giving them ideas and strategies. But I suppose the main thing is to create a space that the child recognises. And that can be by simply putting out a piece of cloth or a coloured mat that signifies, it's time to play. It's time to play with mom or dad. You know, we're going to stop doing whatever we were doing. It's our special time now. Think about where that child enjoys being. You know, if it could be at grandma's house, it could be in the park that you decide to work together, because that's maybe where you're going to get the best responses. Again, going back to your child's interest, that's key. No matter where you are or how big the space you have, if you don't have your child's interest, we're up against it, really. So thinking about the type of toys, the type of items, don't necessarily have to be toys, as we mentioned before, that your child's going to stay with you and be interested in. It's important also to think about distractors, things like TV and radio that you might not even be aware that you have on. As an adult, it's easy for us to kind of have the TV on as just background noise, but still be able to concentrate on other things. But for a child, and especially a child with social communication difficulties, they will be very aware of what's going on in the background. And when their favourite jingle comes on, or their favourite programme, then they will turn to that. And it doesn't matter how exciting you're trying to be, that will always win. Another key thing to think about is to take things out of the child's way sometimes. If you know, for instance, that your child will do anything to get at that Thomas the Tank Engine, it may seem a bit mean, but it really is okay to put that tank engine, if you can, somewhere out of reach, so they can see it, but maybe can't get it. Because then they have to come to you to get it. You might get a swift kick, you might get a slap, but that is communication. And what they're telling you is, I want that. And that's really, end of the day, is what you want your child to do. So creating those kind of moments, opportunities, reasons for communication are key. When we think about communication, we naturally think about words. But communication does not have to be about words, it's only a part of it. In fact, when we think of a newborn baby, they don't have any words and they have very few gestures. But by mum and dad interpreting what it means by the vocalizations they hear, and by having opportunities to repeat that interaction, the baby will learn what it needs to do to get its message across. For successful communication to occur, it needs several factors. A reason to communicate, or something to say, the opportunity, somebody to say it to, the means to communicate, that can be using spoken words, body language, gestures, pictures. And finally, to know that the effort is worthwhile. You get results. Somebody is acting in the way that you want them to. The way your child gets his message across is individual. However, we recognise that children on the social and communication pathway have similarities in the way they communicate, and these are dependent on the developmental stage that they're at. We're going to go through the 4 main developmental stages, and I'm sure that you will recognise that your child sits mainly within one stage. However, like all children, there will be some variability. Children on their own agenda stage, as the name suggests, will be very single-channeled. They won't send messages directly to you. They may interact only briefly with you, but never with other children. They don't understand words and prefer to play by themselves. They may laugh and cry for no apparent reason, and scream and cry to let you know when they're unhappy. Children at the requester stage will pull you to what they want, request more of play by eye contact, smiling or pulling you. They may echo words but not use those words to make their needs known. They may reach for what they want, but they are able to follow everyday, consistent routines. Early communicators request a favourite game using the same word or gesture every time. They may echo what you say after a question. For instance, "Are you ready, John?" may be repeated, "Are you ready, John?" to indicate that they want another turn. They'll request motivating items with a word, a picture, or a gesture. They can occasionally draw your attention by using a sound or a gesture or word. They will understand familiar labels and phrases. And they may greet people by saying hello and bye-bye, but inconsistently. Children at the partner stage of communication will use words or other means to communicate. They'll request, protest, greet, comment, and ask and answer questions. They're beginning to use words to pretend, talk about their feelings and relate events. They're able to interact for longer with both familiar and unfamiliar people. They're also beginning to engage with other children. They'll understand a growing number of words as long as they are clear. Now that you've got your child interested and given them a reason to communicate, how can you structure your activities to move that communication forward? 4 I's. Include. Include your child's interests so they take notice of you. When you include your child's interests, you are onto a winner because they don't have to shift their attention. They're going to be more motivated and willing to interact, and you get an opportunity to copy their lead. Interpret and acknowledge. When you interpret, you are acknowledging your child's attempts and accepting their communication. Model back an appropriate response. Oh, you want some crisps? And then reward the communication. Give them some crisps, perhaps 2 or 3 in a bowl. Imitate. Copy your child so that they can copy you. Copying helps your child get involved in a 2-way interaction and involves turn-taking. Remember, we all like to feel copied. And for a lot of our children with autism, perhaps no one has taken the time to copy their actions before. Intrude. Get in the way. When all else fails, you may have to create an opportunity or situation to force your child to let you in. To keep your child engaged in an activity, you really need it to rock. Here is a simple way for you to remember what to do. Rock. Or, repeat what you say and do by labeling the object or routine the same way every time so that your child can make the connection between the words you use and the event. O. Opportunities. Opportunities for your child to have a turn. As you break down your routine into small steps, you can make opportunities for your child to take a turn. C. Cue. Cue your child into taking a turn. At first, the cue may need to be very explicit, like taking their hand or bringing something directly to them. Maybe using the same words every time. K. Keep it going and keep it fun. Adding a song or a game can help keep your child engaged and motivated. Owling. Remember, don't just try and barge in with a new toy. Observe, wait, and listen. Observe your child. Don't rush in too quick. Take the time to look at what they're doing and how they may be signaling you and sending you messages. Your child will need more time to process what you've asked them to do. And by waiting, you can really cue in to pick up on all those little signals they're giving you. Remember, a lot of what your child will signal to you may not be easily understood, or it can be very easily missed. It may be just a sound or a vocalization. But if you're looking and really cueing into your child, you can pick up on all these signals. 4 S's. Say less. By using fewer words, your child has a greater chance of making the connection between the word they hear and the action. Stress the key words of a sentence. Go slow and show. Remember, your child will need more time to process what they hear.
I work for the local Children and Family Centre, and I am one of the activity coordinators. We work to support families and children in the community, and one of the groups that I'm running is Somewhere to Belong. Somewhere to Belong is a pilot group, invitation only, and is aimed to support those families who might have a concern around child development. Every week, we have a different specialist who's coming to assess the children, where we support the parents around the children's play, building attention, and to create a bond. The group lasts between 6 and 12 weeks, depending on the child. It is a beautiful group to be part of because we all grow together and we support each other and we do become like a little family. If you are interested in joining, please contact the Children and Family Centre and ask to be referred, or you just might ask one of the specialists that is working with you.
Thank you for watching this video, and I really do hope you found it useful. The contact details for both the Speech and Language Therapy Service and the Child and Family Centres will be available at the end of the video. I also ask that you please do use the resources available. And any questions you have, don't hesitate to ask.